Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm so excited. The reason as to why I'm excited is because we are talking about motivation in this new series, which we started yesterday. When I mentioned yesterday, I said, when I mentioned the word motivation, everyone wants to, accommodate the word easily. But when I add the word motivational speaker, that's where people start drawing the line and they say, those guys are fake and so on. Fine. Call them fake all you want. Call them quacks all you want. Call them liars all you want. And of course, they are fakes, they are liars, and they are quacks in the industry. But let me tell you this, let me put this to you. Everything you've done today that you're proud of, you did it because you are motivated. Tell me of anything that you've accomplished without motivation. Tell me. There is basically nothing. You will look at your motivation either internally or externally, but you are motivated, and that's the point. So in the series, we're discussing the 5 types of external motivation that you will need. And before we can even look at those 5 types, let us talk about motivation itself. Let us learn a thing or two about motivation even as we keep going. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
We all need motivation. I know I'm jumping at you, but we all need motivation. This podcast is 1,327 episodes in. Why? It is because of motivation. Motivation got me here. In fact, some of you are listening to these episodes because of motivation. You are motivated to listen. The reason as to why I have only 1,000 people listening to these episodes every month is because only 1,000 people are motivated to listen. There are many excuses. We can have very many excuses as to why we don't do things. But let me tell you, it's going to boil down to one thing. It's going to boil down to motivation. The reason as to why we don't have this and we don't have that, it is because of motivation. The right kind of motivation. For the most part, that is the situation. We can make excuses all over the place, but it's going to come down to motivation. There are 2 types of motivation. We talked about that yesterday. There is this motivation. In fact, by the way, at the end of the day, it might be external, but the working of motivation always is going to be internal. This is what I mean. You might see something outside of you, something that you didn't even plan to see. And it does something inside of you. It causes you to rise up and say, hey, wait a minute. I am seeing things in a totally different way. There's a possibility for this and there's a possibility for that. You can read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. And all of a sudden you see a man who is running 100 kilometers in a competition. And he's overcoming. And you're like, if this guy can do that, I can do something about my body also. I can work out at least 30 minutes a day. This man is running 100 kilometers. That's motivation. But that motivation happened externally, and yet its working was internally. There is the intrinsic motivation which we call inspiration, where it's just inside of yourself, these reflections that go on and so on, and you get motivated to do stuff. But then there is extrinsic, external motivation, which we're going to talk about. There's a profession that has been receiving stick for the recent past and even in the present moments. And I've talked about those guys. It is that of motivational speakers. Every time they joke about us, they say, oh, you guys, they normally tell us, I started my chicken farm with a feather. Or I opened my rice store with one rice. And you make fun of us. It seems as if nearly everyone fancies himself to be in that profession of late. And that's why there are quacks in there, there are pretenders there, there are novices there. I mean, you go to a seminar, you're listening to someone talk and you're like, I could have stayed home. I could have watched a movie. It would have been better. And they're calling themselves motivational speakers. You will easily find quacks plagiarizing content. I mean, stealing each other's content left, right, and center. Especially if you've been fake. Let me tell you something that happened to me some time back. This year, actually. No, not this year. Towards the end of last year. That is in 2022, December. There was a gathering of people that was organized. And I went and I attended that gathering. And in this gathering, they had invited an outside person to come and speak to them. Okay, to come and speak to us. When this person took the stage and started talking, I tell you, the content was from Brendan Bouchard. Brendan talks about packaging yourself, promoting yourself, and all those P's that he normally uses. And I saw that this person is just taking Brendan's content, and at any point in time did they mention the name Brendan Bouchard and give credit to that content. Obviously, I wasn't happy and so on. And when the guys were gathered together later on their WhatsApp groups and they were telling how powerful the session was, I was like, guys, there are more powerful people within us. We would have had better powerful sessions within us amongst ourselves than what these people did. And people came after my neck and said, oh, you're just being negative and so on. See, that's how motivation works. It doesn't matter whether you've plagiarized it or not. It still works, especially if you do not know where that content came from. But woe to them later on when they come to the realization that, hey, guess what? We were fed second-rate content. What happens to the pedigree of the quote motivational speaker? It's gone with the wind. But that's beside the point. You will easily find very many of these guys plagiarizing content, spewing out lies and pulling out stunts to excite people. But at the end of the day, they are lacking authenticity. You might lack authenticity all day long, but doesn't erase the fact that motivation works. I'd rather that it works and you have your authenticity in place. And I'd rather that you do these things giving people credit. If you've stolen content or if you've borrowed content, give people credit. At least have the decency to infuse your motivation with your own stories and tell people your own stories and feed people royally. Have the decency to give it time. Have the decency to sharpen your axe, to sharpen your saw and make yourself indispensable in the industry. And I know there's the continuum of growth, because sometimes we start when we are novices, we know nothing. But then as we keep going, we grow and we grow and we grow. So let us, those of us who are in the industry of motivation, let us not bring this industry into bad disrepute, into a disrepute because of these silly things we do. Lacking content, being blank, being so shallow, not preparing ourselves and regurgitating what we heard Einstein speak years ago. That's what we're still speaking, and we have not curated enough content of ourselves and so on. But like I've said, with that story I've just shared with you, it doesn't matter sometimes when people don't know these things. It's like an oasis in the desert that needs to be watered. So motivation is such a powerful thing. Whether it's been stolen or not, it has a potency that can work in whatever environment that is put in. Only when the source has been unearthed to be a liar or inauthentic, that's when it starts losing meaning. But you will never fault the need for motivation, whether internally or externally in our lives. We're going to continue talking about these things even as we're starting to going into the real types of motivation that we need so that we can inspire ourselves daily. Imagine I said daily. Zig Ziglar, what did he say? He said, some people say that motivation doesn't last. Well, so does bathing, and that's why we recommend it daily. You and I, every single day. The reason as to why we get out of that bed, the reason as to why we go back home, the reason as to why we do what we do is because of motivation. So we've got to be motivated daily. In fact, the biggest challenge in life is to be motivated each day above the level of life. That's an original quote with me. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.